welcome. And today I have my dearest, 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 and I mean it when I say it, friend, brother, from many lives, from a different mother, from this life, Glenn Mavor. And he, to me, I mean, he's an IT guy. He's a he has never used this word for himself, but I know who he is. I see him as a magician. I see him as a shaman. I see him as, I know he's a poet because he writes the most exquisite poetry in 10 minutes, and I don't know how he does it, and it is always apropos. He's a great friend, he's a great healer, he's a great artist, his great left brain, his great head, heart-centered. So he is one of those person whom I met and I fell in love with the day I saw him. It was in a call like 2.5, 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And since then, we have been meeting once a week, and we get together and we write and we share and we channel and we do all these amazing things. And we call ourselves the Wisdom Warriors. So, Glenn, without much ado, I want you to take it away and introduce yourself in your own words, because I don't have any prepared speech. And oh, by the way, and let me tell you, if this is your first time on our show, the name of our show is Crossroad Conversations on the Be Happier podcast. And if you want to get a hold of Glenn, all the information will be in the show notes and also in the description section of this video. If you're watching it on YouTube, this conversation is organic. It's not prepared speech. No questions. No one knows what's going to come up next. And both of us love to talk and share and heal and all that good stuff. So it's raw, it's real, it's unedited and unfiltered. So get ready.
I like it. Yes, Glenn Mavor here. And I was in IT. I was in a corporate job for a long, long time, a couple of different ones, but the last one was the longest. And something happened, I think it was probably at the end of 2016, when I was listening to a Matt Kahn video that somebody or a friend turned me on to, and I was listening to him, and he was talking about it's September 2016, and there's an ascension of those that belong to the Angel Academy. He was kind of jokingly calling it the Angel Academy, but I started resonating with that and feeling this rising up. So I moved out. Well, I was still doing IT, but I was in a marriage that wasn't really working, and we weren't really working on making it working. And I separated from my wife, and that's when I took a turn towards something that would catch my passion. I wanted to live life differently. I knew that I was being called to something, and it took me into Oracle school that Colette Baron-Reed does, and investigated myself, which led me into, and I'm connected to someone else. There's a lot of Hay House listening that I did back then too. Somebody else on Hay House named Marissa Morris that told me about myself and taught, I guess I would say I learned Reiki from her. So I became a Reiki practitioner for a while. I still do it on occasion. And that led me into astrology, which you and I both did, that whole school. Deborah Silverman's astrology school. And it was opening my eyes, and so about myself. So I learned a lot about myself, but it was really in stages. It didn't all happen. I thought, oh, I know all about myself, and then I would her school will take you to the point where you can do readings for people. So now I will do occasional readings for people, like I do occasional Reiki for people. And but I noticed different parts of my chart were getting activated at different times. And one of those times was when we connected in writing. And I had been writing poems in Oracle school, but I hadn't really, it was just a very small group of people that I would share them with. And then I kind of had stopped writing them. But when we got together, it started coming out of me again, these poems. I wasn't just really, it kind of started off like I was just writing stuff. And then I was like, this muse wanted to speak in a particular way. And it sort of reactivated it when we got together. And that, so then I started writing all the time. And then I said, oh, I shouldn't be really hiding myself. But one of the things that I learned through all these things at this point was can't be small anymore. I need to be, there has to be some way to express myself. And so then that's why I wanted to stay together with our group and delve into the wisdom, you know, let's really be warriors in writing about what battles are taking place within ourselves, I suppose, and dissecting them and taking the violence out of them, you know, purifying, alchemizing, you being the alchemist part of our group was kind of the leader that brought us all together to do it. And then some other things happened. I got involved with Chinese energy clearing that Gene Hayner teaches, and I was going through a cycle of becoming certified in that, but that didn't work out. I still do energy clearings though, in case anyone wants. I do those too, and then I took another astrology course, which just kind of blew my mind about how you can look at a moment in time and answer a question for somebody, give them the details of what's going to happen with an answer, the answer that what if they ask, like if somebody asks, is this my partner? Is this the person I'm supposed to be together with? Or is this a place I should buy for my home? And you can look at the chart and you can see things in the chart, details about what happens if I do go with this house? What happens if I don't? What is this the right person for me or not? So I can do that too. But all of these things really were about, I think, in a way, developing me, and maybe in a way purifying me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it led me to be activated to channel in a trans channel type of way where something takes over and you're something speaking through you. You know, we kind of deal when we channel, we're sort of
a vessel, a
kind of,
conduit.
yeah, we're a conduit and we're kind of downloading and then revealing.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of channeling there's actually a little more of an allowing of another energy to come filter through you a little bit more, I think. I'm not like a full trance channel like some people are, but once I learned and activated that, I incorporated that into my astrology readings through help of the person that was teaching these classes that was activating us. So that has been sort of an add-on to my readings, is to do a channeling about a people or a person. And it also led me, because I got to know, her name is Galactic Ashley, by the way. So if you're interested in being activated to channel or light language, I also do that. Mm-hmm. She is the place to go, galacticashley.com. And I started incorporating that, and because I got to know her better, And I got to know people through that course. I got led into doing shamanic animal medicine and plant medicine. And that has been another whole layer of development of things that have come up for me. And we were just talking about an experience I had on Monday, so a couple of days ago.
Enigma.
Enigma, yes. The fascinating, amazing plant, Enigma. And all of those have awakened things in me that I didn't even know were there. And you talked about being a magician, and I've actually, because of the experiences I've had this year, I've delved more into the idea of magic. I'm looking at the way people are doing magic in now, and there's books out there, but I feel like I'm doing my own thing with it. Ultimately, what this last weekend, I come to you now, I can say that one of the role that I'm playing, it seems, at least for now, is I'm a recruiter. And I'm a recruiter of bringing people to recognize their own empowerment or their own inner power. And I'll have people just come to me and say, I want to collaborate with you. And it's happened last year. And that I connected with somebody and they weren't quite sure why they wanted to connect with me. And I didn't know why I was connecting with them, but we kind of came together and then we came apart. And magnificent and dire things happened in their lives from that interaction. And that happened to me recently, and I had a person come to me. So I noticed that my magnetism has something to do with helping people recognize their light and it's my particular way of doing it, just like you are doing. When I was in one of your classes recently, you had a strong message that was very organized and worked immediately with everybody in the group, that let's go through these processes. And then at the end of it, you feel open. You feel so we have our own ways of creating prescriptions for people to become aware of what they are here for. So I think that's what I'm a recruiter for. It isn't necessarily for plant medicine or writing or an astrology reading or Reiki. I know all these things. I think what's really truly what I could truly say about myself is I'm remembering things about who I am, what I am, what I wholly am. And that is my intention for a while, is to remember what I wholly am. So you asked one question and I went on for a long time, but that's what's going on. That's who I am. That's what I am right now.
Yes. And so thank you, Glenn, for taking the time, and because you are an infinite being, and to bring that infinite being, encapsulate the eternal infinite being that you are into finite bite-sized words is another magic and miracle by itself. How do you say who you are? Because Jesus said, I am that I am. Like when I called you my friend and I call you my brother, are you just that? Are you just my friend? Are you just my brother? No, you are me. You are me and I am you.
Yeah.
And it is namaste. Namaste is not me, you. Like my existence is validated only through your presence. And Thai Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen teacher of our time, has said, he has written a book, You Are, Therefore I Am. I only exist in your presence.
Right.
So anyone listening to this, if it doesn't make sense to you, rewind and replay, rewind and replay, rewind and replay. And someday you will get it. And some of you will be like, that's all I wanted to hear. I get it. I get it. That's what I have been feeling. That's what I'm going through.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things you said, and the prescription is that energy medicine. You can only do it your way, Glenn. You can only do it your way, and I can only do it my way. We have many teachers, and everyone learned from many other teachers, and they made it their way. So how can you box something that is infinite and eternal? You cannot put it in a box.
No.
Yes, you have to be free flowing. But yes, in this three-dimensional world, we are boxed in this body. We
Yeah.
are boxed with a formal name, a driver's license number, social security number, a mother's maiden name. Those are the boxes, in the Vedic scriptures. And even Buddha talked about Nama and Rupa. Everything needs to be identified by a name.
Right.
You're a man, you're a woman, you're bisexual, you're homosexual, you're transgender, LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
Yes, we are all of that. Because there is
Mhm.
a gay one in me, and there is a queer one in me. And what is gay? Gay means happy. What is queer? Queer means weird. And who wants normal? The opposite of weird is like very normal. And I'm like, a normal is so average and so boring. Make me
Yes.
queer. I'll take it.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I sense so I also I didn't mention it, but I left my corporate job in 2020.
Hmm.
I was given a special universal option at that time that other people didn't get to either stay or to leave and and to be supported for a little while because of what corporations do. And I chose I recognized the universe was giving me this choice and to be committed to the call that I was being called to. I knew the right answer, but it was giving the answer as you can stay and you can just play it this you can play with being safe, which it has um, consequences. The idea of
Hmm.
safe and comfort has the consequences of turning you off, dimming you, depressing you, suppressing you. And I was done
Hmm.
with that. And as
Hmm.
you talked about the labels, I was thinking about how it's a challenging for me to be connected with a label. So I came in, that's why I'm a Reiki teacher, or I'm a Reiki, not a Reiki teacher, but a
Practitioner or master.
practitioner or an astrology reader, or and I say I'm a recruiter, and I'm just saying that now because that's like this is a reference point because there's such a
Hmm.
dynamic flow of shifts that keep taking place that I'm not willing if it's done to keep the mooring lines onto a label
Hmm.
that I'm going to cast those free if the boat needs to keep moving. And right now, I'm maybe settled in a place or I'm moored to a dock to integrate. What
Hmm.
does this mean about recruiter? What are the next steps? Or what does my passion and what do I feel like doing now? And where is that? And when I let go of it, can I be in that discomfort of that? Because every time you find yourself identifying with something, and then it's like you're taking another direction. It's like, no, I know who I am now, but I don't really necessarily. What I am is, like you said, is that infinite. It can go and go and go. It can keep growing. It can
And
be
eternal, and
yes,
eternal,
and
and
eternal.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
eternal. And so there is, I feel as if there is a, sometimes labels are about a fear frequency that's been around on the earth for a long time. And we use, you can use words like woke to organize or categorize somebody, or you can use the word MAGA, and that categorizes people, or social justice warrior, or conspiracy theorist. All of these things will have been conditioned by others that have negative energy tied to them. Sometimes it's positive energy, but then there's always this negative thing that says, okay, I can put this person over here. Here's a good person because they're woke, or here's a good person because they're MAGA, or here's a bad person because they're woke, or here's a bad person because they're MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all a frequency of it puts us in that fear frequency where we want to be seen as good and categorize ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
label ourselves. And it
And
takes,
belong, and
yes,
belong.
and we belong. Exactly. It's all tied to our trauma. It gets tied
Mm-hmm.
into that fear of in our trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
when we start to look in, and what we want to happen when we're working with somebody is to recognize, look into those shadows, and then bring some light to that and bring the truth of your power and
Mm-hmm.
empower you, so that you come out of this division out here, because there's a division in here.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm escaping, I'm trying to dance around my wounds, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want is for everyone that we're connecting with to be authentic, to be the authors of their choices, to be responsible, you know, for what they're choosing in their lives. And that is where the blossom comes and opens up. And
Yes.
and then recognize when people come to you and say, wow, look at you, you're amazing, to be able to receive that
Yes.
energy, to be in that love, that
Mm-hmm.
and adulation, that somebody will come to you and notice your light,
Mm-hmm.
notice your light, and not necessarily uh,
Mm-hmm.
try to joke it away or to say it's nothing when it's everything. So
Yes.
um, that said about the labels really triggered a lot of, it triggered
Mm-hmm.
a lot of information, a lot of downloads in me. So yeah,
No,
yeah.
and that's wonderful, because what you just did is you just laid out a formula. You just laid out a formula, but the formula has a catch in it. For you to notice that you are amazing, for you to be validated externally that you are amazing, you have to have a spark of that within you. You have to ask yourself, not am I amazing, but how amazing am I? How
Mhm.
amazing am I? Like in the morning when you wake up, you don't turn on the light because it's going to hit you, it's going to jar you. You go to the bathroom, you don't wipe off the booger from your eyes, don't wear your glasses or your contacts, but look into the mirror. Look into the girl or the boy, the young man, woman, however you identify, in the mirror and say, I am amazing. I am awesome. And when you claim your amazingness, your awesomeness, you give others the permission to see their amazingness and also
Mhm.
recognize yours. It starts with you.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And when you talked about that split, it's like when we split from our own amazingness, from our own divinity, and that is what takes us down this other rabbit hole that we don't like. We don't enjoy the journey and we don't like the destination we are getting to, which is like aging, death and decaying and decomposing, disease and death. We don't want, no one wants that because and the reason we don't want to die is because our true nature is being eternal.
Mhm.
So when someone says this is going to end, remember that this will end for a better beginning. And that comes through that choice that we have. So when you were talking about the fear frequency,
Yeah.
oh my God, I love that term. And I'm going to borrow it from you and, of course, give you credit each time I use it. So I remember my source. But think about it when you're going out, when you're going shopping, or you go on Facebook, or you go on Amazon. What are you going seeking? And whatever you're going seeking, is that from a place of fear or not? Because the moment it comes from a place of fear, because you have money on your credit card, you will go get it. But guess what you just did? You made someone your boss. Buddha said this: when you own a cow, the cow owns you. When you own a house, your house owns you. When you own a car, the car owns you. Because now you have become its caretaker. And now you have to take stuff away from you so you can take care of this possession that you recently acquired. And that comes from the fear frequency. Like
Yes.
whenever I travel, I love to travel. Wherever I go, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I lived here. Oh my God, I wish I was in this house. And then I'm like, I get to enjoy this place. I get to enjoy this house. I don't
No.
need to own it. Let someone else own it and clean it and pay the taxes. I'll just pay
Yeah.
them whatever it takes to come and enjoy this, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to own it. And that is a big thing. But now I want to ask you a very serious question, Glenn, because
Yes.
as I was listening to your story, and when I say serious, not like, serious, because I saw you just, okay, is asking me a question. Love that face. As you were sharing your introduction, you mentioned two things, and of course, two very important things. One was you were married and then you stopped trying. So that was a crossroad you were in, and you really became into yourself. You came into yourself in 2016. And then even in 2020, when you had the option to stay or leave, that was also a crossroad you were in, and you made a choice. And both these choices have brought you here today when you and I are having this conversation in this beautiful autumn, right? Of 2023. So our listener, whoever is listening in right now, either they have been or they will be or they already are at a crossroad in their life. So what are
Mm.
the things that they could ask themselves? Because you're a left brain person, you're an engineer, you think like computers, you can do Boolean stuff, 0, 1, you can do all of the yes or no. But life isn't just yes or no. It's like 50 shades of gray, right? In between. So either you can, and however this information comes through you, because there's nothing right or wrong or good or bad. Help this person, help me or whoever, because I learn so much each time I have these conversations and I take this wisdom for myself and also to share it with my clients and my students. What are the steps you went through to what is the conversation you had with yourself? Because everything is you. If you were having a conversation with your boss or your wife or whatever, it was a conversation with yourself. What is that conversation that people could have with themselves that will take them away from their fear frequency and into that love frequency, into their infinite potential?
Mm. That's a excellent question. I think the first step, and this is before I even got married, one of the first things I did was to recognize the patterns that were more towards the surface. For instance, and then this was suggested to me years ago, to when I was working at the office, what I always did was drive home the same way because it was the fastest way. I'm a Virgo at the basic level, at the low level Virgo of I'm just going to be efficient and make it as fast as I can, and and I was like, why would you think any way else? And this person suggested to me, why don't you drive home a different way? And it was actually a doctor. It was having digestive issues and all kinds of things, and I had gone to Western medicine, allopaths, and they were absolutely no help. And so this was an alternative guy, and he said, you just need to do things differently, and why don't you try this? And so I did. I took like a really long way to go home, and I went, and I felt better, and I went, well, that's really interesting. Because it took me out of a pattern. Now, what was the root of that pattern? Well, I didn't know yet. But what I decided to do was, let's look at all the other little things that I do that are all about trying to be done, to try to get me to the destination rather than the process, being in the process, living the moment to moment. So I did another things, like I would go to the grocery store and I'd find the longest line. And sometimes you don't have lines in stores anymore, but I would find the one that had the most people queued up and stand behind that one rather than going to the smaller line, so that I could practice waiting. You know, to I'm not in a hurry. Why am I in a hurry? What can I experience in these moments now? And I have this time to just be with myself while I'm waiting to put my groceries on the thing. I mean, it's and then it graduated to traffic. Like, I'm getting mad at everyone in my way, like they're an obstacle, or they're being inconsiderate because they're pulling in front of me. I've totally flipped that around now. Sometimes it comes back. It's interesting, but I flipped it around now to what I started doing was blessing everyone. And when I started blessing everyone, then I started having some enjoyment about driving. When I was a kid, I always dreamed about driving, but it changed. It shifted me to say, I don't want to waste a moment of this time in this life. And then it started to peel back some of the other things that were deeper, that were connected to trauma, abandonment trauma for me, to look. And I went through, I was in a therapy with an LCSW for quite a few years when I was in my 30s. And all of these seminal moments in my childhood had showed up. So I think there has to be, the first steps are, what are the things going on the surface? At least this is what worked for me. And then that helped me to expand my vision, that there's actually more things that I can experience. It actually opened me up to do other things like musical theater and hypnotherapy. I just started doing different things. I tried flying a plane. I did fly a plane. I just didn't go through the whole process. I just was like, try everything. And that really opened me up to spirit. But there was more to it that had to happen. I did therapy. I was connected to a yoga group for a while. It was a meditation yoga type of group. And one time in a meditation, the guru came to me and said, "You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be engaging with life. You're not supposed to be just chanting and being spiritual all the time. You need to live a life and not try to escape living." And I didn't recognize or realize I was doing that until this guru told me that. And the guru said, I'm not really God on earth. I'm just a human like you. And then they touched me right here. on the
Mm.
third eye. And I went, whoa, okay. Um, and that led me to find somebody um, I was looking then to say, well, I need some kind of a partnership. I need to be able to develop in a relationship, not be so on my own all the time. You know, all my other relationships had lasted short periods of time and were with people that were basically unavailable, which is part of my trauma.
Mhm.
And so I found my wife, and I had a different feeling of experience of what I didn't really experience love like I had before, and I actually chose that because it was different. It was out of the pattern.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like this strong, desperate thing that, but it was. We were friendly. It was nice at first,
Mhm.
and uh, and then we got married, and she had a son already. So I had a stepson. So I became a stepfather, and I had this
Mhm.
whole new experience. And I said, I'm really good. I'm really smart. Look at me. I got into this, and I'm having this relationship, and we can work through everything. And it just didn't work out that way. Um, and it's only just even just this last weekend when I realized when I engaged with my ex, it was always if there was something we really needed to talk about, or she was upset, she would project everything on me, and she would kind of poke at all the vulnerabilities in me, and I would stand up and oppose, and that just made it worse. And then my what I would do is just withdraw, and it's like all the only tools I had was to engage in opposition or to withdraw. I recognized at that point, in this even just this last weekend, that and when we split apart and separated, there's a lot of people telling me, she's, not good. It's not good to be in that place of verbal abuse and um, not being able to communicate. I knew that part, but what I learned is for myself is I needed to. I've created this sort of wall around myself, around my wounds, which I've worked
Mhm.
on many, many times, that needed to be penetrated because what I believe what we bring to clients
Mhm.
is a sense of safety within, an alignment with their own source connection and their own ability to self heal. There is a frequency of self healing within everyone.
Mhm.
Um, what I recognize through all of these things and looking at the way I engaged with my ex-wife, with my brother, with my father, with my mother, it is there was um, there was always some kind of a distance
Mm.
that I was putting up. That I needed to be able to trust them before I could let them in.
Mhm.
And for everyone that's working on themselves, it's the ultimately is, can I trust that I'm a strong enough being to walk into these situations
Mhm.
and through these storms, through these
Mhm.
conflicts,
Mhm.
and see what's really going on behind the scenes, not taking these things personally, but at the same time being able to feel sometimes in these conflicts, the person's coming at you because there's love within them and they don't know how else to express it.
Mhm.
And then once we start to see that we're healing and that we have this ability to activate our own technology within ourselves, because the human body
Mhm.
is amazing, amazing, amazing thing. And then
Mhm.
we can recognize we have the support from our guides. Some people it's angels, sometimes it's both. Other things. I have some other interesting things too, galactic things. And also connecting with your soul, letting all of these things come into the human body together so that you can experience, have a multi-dimensional experience. Once you start to dive deep, you find yourself being able to ascend higher above, to rise, to be more whole, uh, is comes when you're willing to take that journey inside yourself and know you're going to be safe and utilize your relationships to help you in that way. The other step, really, for me, after going through all these things with my ex, and I recognize now, one of the things I see as not wasting a moment is if I recognize that I'm doing something that's potentially pushing somebody away. I noticed that over the weekend. And then I can come up to the person and talk about, I did this thing and it felt this way to me. How did it feel for you? And this was my intention when it happened, but I recognized it was something going on with me, and then have this conversation. This is what happened with me this last weekend. This is the practice of authenticity. This is the practice of speaking your feelings. And I say this like, oh yeah, this is easy. Just go and come out and, talk about every little moment that happens with you and another person. Sometimes it's so triggering that you can't find words for it. And so then having support, going within with your own maybe inner coach or the person you're connecting with, like people that come to you and have sessions with you, they're looking for that support. And so it's good. I think that's another step, is build a support system. Recognize those that are in your life now that aren't supportive. And the way you know that is you feel weird when they say something critical about you in front of you, or you ask them to help you and they're not available, or there are ways to know. And for me, when I separated from my wife, I came together with some old relationships that had gone away when I got married, and then put away, and I started to have other people come in to my life. And it's I think that's another step, is to practice letting relationships go that are done, and let yourself feel the grief about losing those. And I say that like this is all easy stuff. It's not. I'm not saying that, but practicing that, being in that. For me, it was it actually would occur with texting. Like I'd meet a new person, and it'd be really this energetic, amazing thing, and then we text, and then they kind of disappear. And in the past, that had always been like, well, what's going on? Why don't you want to keep doing? Why don't you want to keep connecting with me? And I learned, with astrology and other things, that people have different personalities. And when I recognized that with astrology, I was like, it changed, it shifted me. I said, these are golden moments of learning about how other people operate, how they do things. And now I can let that go. And if it comes back, it comes back. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And if there's some longing or grief, I can look at that and play with that. Look at it. For me, it wasn't just, that kind of thing wouldn't just go away. You had to keep being in it and let it be there and not try to escape from it. you had to go day to day with this kind of desperateness, and let the information bubble up for you, and talk to people about it,
Mm-hmm.
or meditate on it. I like to do, I like to diversify.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'd say maybe another step for me to bring myself into my body fully, or it's an ongoing process, that animal and plant medicine were very, and still are very impressing of what it's like to be on Earth. If you're, a lot of people can use plant medicine to go spiritual, but all my intentions have been, tell me what it's like for you to be, growing out of the ground, like being with the dirt, and being a being that's really
Mm-hmm.
connected, is literally connected with the earth. Show me, I want to be connected to the earth. And at the same time, we were talking about this a couple days ago too, um, to still feel rooted while I'm moving, you know,
Yes.
to not, I'm not a plant, so I'm not going to be stuck in the ground, but to be moving around and feel what it's like to be part of this um, amazing thing, and to recognize I have my own seasons, and I'm affected by the seasons. I'm affected by the moon moving around. I have my own water moving through me and doing things. So aligning with those things on Earth has been a very big step for me to actually open up uh, my wounds and make them windows into this vast storehouse of magic and wisdom, and recognizing suffering that can be transmuted, that can be, I like to call it, when we're shifting, change, we're are like our own frequency, like we're a song that's playing. And sometimes the song has to change, the lyrics or the melody. We're adding something into it. We're making a new arrangement. We're doing a cover song, or, or something like that. But that when the shift needs to occur, because we're always dynamically changing, there's
Mm-hmm.
old frequencies that we might call toxins from what we ingested or consumed from before, or they were in there from the beginning. And I like, instead of calling things toxins, I'd like to call them expired frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
because it takes the judgment off of it, because all of that stuff came into our lives to develop us to be the unique, intricate, special individual in our own greatness, so that it can come out and come up. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's another step for me, is to allow to recognize, to be aware of the changes, the things that I need to let go of, and look at the things that I maybe look at as regrets, resentments, um, mistakes, are all just frequencies that are expiring, and
Yes.
you know that I can let those go,
Yeah.
because they're just not. It's like cleaning out the fridge. All the stuff is expired. Just get all that stuff out of there, so there's room for all the good new stuff. Stuff that I maybe want to store, and then uh, rely on, or come back to,
Mm-hmm.
um, and enjoy. When you look at things that way, you have some freedom and choice.
Mm-hmm.
you found that safety within, that's you're if you're hurt in some way, that you have your own, abilities, that with some support will light that up, and you start to heal emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. You are the great alchemist, and I always think of alchemy because we can take it. What they do in alchemy with a plant, right, is they take it and they split it into the spirit and the soul and the body, and then each one is purified, and then the medicine is bringing it back together, and then creating a medicine that you take that isn't just focused on the physical or the soul or the spirit. It has this great potency to shift everything. In a way, that's what we are. We are we have this ability, self-healing frequency, to sort of split these things apart on our own and purify each thing and then bring them back together. And each time we do that, we become like our own philosopher's stone, right? And for other people.
Yes.
I like to say that the elements, earth, air, water, fire, we're like the fifth element. Just each one of us is that fifth element that works with each one of those to help us alchemize. And then we become this confluence of all those things together. The quintessent element. So
Lovely.
yeah, these are the it's kind of all over the place, but these are the kind of steps. There's, steps at the surface, and then there's steps to take, those kind of break you open, I think, to get to the lower steps. It can work that way. Other people have other ways of doing it too. This is just the way it works for me. And now it's interesting, and I just want to add one more thing. What I noticed too recently for me, and I saw someone else on some posting somewhere else. It's an interesting time that we're in right now. That somebody came at me because I liked an Instagram post, and they were upset. Like, why did you like this? And I started feeling anxiety, like I'm going to lose this friend. And when I sensed that anxiety, rather than trying to placate them and apologize and do all the things that I would have done in the past, trying to please them, I said, this anxiety is not it's not a bad thing. It's telling me that I'm changing. This person came at me for a reason, that my anxiety is activating me to be authentic, to really dig into whatever's going on with me, and be able to speak what's really true about what I'm feeling to this person. And so I went to post. It wasn't easy. I had to send several things before I started getting some clarity about what is it that I'm feeling. But I wasn't going to apologize for it. I changed my mind about liking it. I did, because I could see that underneath what they were telling me, like I was talking about before, is that they cared about me. They wanted to stay friends with me, and that's why they even bothered to send the thing in the first place. And they're not they're more into conflict. My personality is less into confrontation, conflict. But I can do it. I can do it now, if need be. So there's a lot of what I learned about that is how strong I am and more fearless to step into these situations and use anxiety as a indicator, an awareness of an opportunity to practice being whole, coming from a whole place. So I think that's maybe another step that's taken place with me, is recognizing these kinds of feelings, these kinds of ungluing. I'm a very airy person. So for me, anxiety feels like there's a circus tent or something. There's a big tent, and then all the tent poles come off, and it all falls on top of me, and there's just a lot of wind blowing everything around. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like just caught in the tornado. I know it's different for other people. But that's what it is. That's what it's like for me. So it was a good opportunity to be sitting in the storm and state my truth.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it taught you how strong you are. Because I'm an airy person too. Jupiter in Gemini, Mars and Venus conjunct in Aquarius.
Yeah,
Talk about air. It's always, and so air has the light side of giving you brilliance, ideas, and the
yeah,
shadow side is feeling lost.
yeah,
I'm so lost. And this
yeah,
whirlwind that's going on within and outside, you see me as this Facebook person, but inside I'm this Wonder Woman, trying to calm my own storm.
yeah,
So, and I know what we covered was very, very, very deep. And I know we will have so many more conversations. You and I meet once a week, but have these conversations for our audience over here. So it's not, it's like one of those epic. Today's episode was an epic episode that people will will either hate it and run away right in the beginning, or love it and share it and keep repeating and watching it in loop mode, because so much came across today and we did not even get into the crossroad conversation over career change, and that'll be another,
yeah,
because I want to keep this kosher, because this was very, and like when you said, you have to go deep to rise high. Think of the tall trees. The
yes,
taller the tree, the deeper its roots. Think of the tall buildings. If you're building a single-storied house, you go only so much deep. But if it's a two-storied house, you have to go deeper. If it's three-storied, even more. If it's 30 stories, yes. So always think of that the deeper you go, the higher you rise, and no one does it alone. No one does it alone. You always need a support crew, a team that will support you, because your friends, they saw you pick your nose, they saw you scratch your butt, they saw you take the garbage out, they are not going to respect you and honor you, because they can't. It's a law of attraction, and you attract people just like you. But when you need support, you need that love, you need that healing, and you need that strength, and you need those tough questions. Like Glenn, you mentioned that doctor, alternative medicine, said, hey, you always take this route. Why don't you take another route going home? And you did that, and suddenly you were calm. And then you start like, maybe for other things also, I can do it a different way.
yeah,
And instead of getting mad at the people who were cutting you off, you started blessing them.
yeah,
And in the store line, in the queue, when you're standing, instead of like trying to get to the shortest line, like, okay, what can I do with myself? Because here is my question to you,
yeah,
that if you can't be with you, how can you expect someone else to be with you? So enjoy your ownness, your awesomeness. And is there anything you want to say, short and sweet, before we drop the mic and we say adios for now? Is there
mm.
anything that you want people to take away at this
Oh,
moment?
uh, be open to the love of your life in every moment, the love of your life is in this quintessent space, you know, your own, you are the stone of your life. You are the gold, the jewel
Mhm.
that we all appreciate and recognize. and love.
Mhm.
And in that, for me, I find peace. That's where I find peace. So
You are that blessing that you have been waiting for. And
thank you.
once more, thank you, Glenn. And I love you, love you, love you.
Love you, love you, love you too. Mwah.
If I could be anywhere, I'd be here with you, sharing our healing hearts, our hope and our truth. Joy overflows here at the crossroads. Here at the crossroads. Oh, here at the crossroads.